Welcome to STEAM by Sales Manager, or Sales Manager by Corporate Manager, as I should say. And it all started with an acronym, STEAM, which stands for basically Sales Team, Engineering, and indeed Management. And it's funny that I quite often ask what is STEAM, and I usually cheekily say the clue's in the title, but STEAM doesn't directly give that evidence away. And explaining this last night to a couple of people, I'm getting better, I guess, at making people or allowing people to understand exactly what it's about. But put simply, STEAM is about working in the business and influencing the productivity and efficiency of the sales team. And certainly if you're sitting here listening to this, which I hope you are as a principal and or sales manager, it's about, as best we can, extracting you away from the front line so that you are controlling the productivity in a profitable manner, highly productive manner as a leader of the sales team. So it puts pressure on listings and sales, which of course is the lifeblood in terms of productivity and efficiency, creating consistency, definitely the thing that we look for most. Those of you that have heard me talk at Sales Trainer or at the List and Sell Tour, I talk very much about the 1 in 4 syndrome and beating that 1 in 4 syndrome so that you have consistency of productivity. Accountability right across the board, so accountability from each of the sales people that you're leading, and accountability back to the top end of management, which is we'll get to a little bit later when I talk about cream and working on the business. And of course, growth. Significant growth with an articulated strategy and a sound understanding of where you're looking to drive the business. We do this practically by providing support. So it's online support, whether it be about implementation, which I'm going to talk further on today because the system is evolving all the time. I think we're up to will be our 6th and 7th presentations of STEAM. And implementation has been high on the agenda. We've noted that those operatives that have got in there and implemented the things that we've talked about in a rapid fashion have succeeded quicker than others. Training, so the 2-day real estate sales management course, which we've, of course, got coming up in the next couple of weeks. And, of course, equipment, so letters, templates, any protocol that we've got, and there's a couple of new ones that we've now developed that are adding into STEAM this year, and props that we have available online. We want access so that you're able to access hands-on training where we come into your team and practically boost productivity and efficiency, from a live in the field method. And then, of course, mentoring. The monthly webinars that we'll be featuring at the beginning. So those of you that are maybe taking notes right now, they're the first Monday of each month, and they will be running for at least 10 months of the year, but in some cases 11 or 12. This is a work in progress, and it's influenced and designed by members. That is of little doubt. There's several things that you'll see that we've had as developments, because what we've watched the members achieve has in turn caused us to develop further facets of STEAM, not least of which is, for a long, long time now, tomorrow we have a webinar on, for salespeople through Sales Trainer Mentor on the elimination of fee discounts. But we see a greater importance that the leader of the team is not just proficient in refraining from discounting fee and setting a standard, but more importantly, being able to influence their team members and creating a rigid, standard, undiscounted fee within the agency. We'll talk about that. So all of these things are starting to play into STEAM as it becomes more progressive. And there's no better example in more recent times of Daniel Richardson down there in Adelaide, where, in the space of about 9 months, they've quadrupled their productivity turnover. They've most certainly more than quadrupled their profits, fundamentally because some of the structural things that we get first of all from Cream, but certainly that you'll see inside of Steam as well. And, we've got long-term projected members that have actually built literal empires, and the major one being that of Coronis Real Estate, 10 years down the track, having gone from 2 offices, turning over or knocking on the door of about $2 million to now, in the last count, will turn over about $48 million at, and this is the most attractive part, at a margin of around 30%. All right, so your advice comes, so from a support aspect, it comes from Corporate Manager. So that is your logged in website. Some of you have been asking about this that have just joined on board, and we've given you access to that, but that's about to be revamped so that from an implementation point of view, you can visit it on a step-by-step fashion and install thoroughly each component so that we get maximum productivity and efficiency from each particular protocol or component that you install of the supportive system that sits behind Steam. And, this has, again, been influenced by us, pretty much by Sales Trainer Mentor on a piecemeal so that you can move, as Daniel Richardson has, as fast as you like, or you can move at a pace that's more suitable to your business environment and I guess what suits you personally. With assistance, we put prescriptions, for want of a better way of putting it, to suit. So all of you will know that when I've talked to you about either coming along to Steam or participating in it, I've started the entire conversation by saying to you, what is it that you want out of Steam? And to me, that fundamentally is the most important facet, because I need to, with you, drive your team's productivity to where you want it to be. Now, it's easy to say, and I've even had salespeople say to them this, that you want to have lots of listings and sales. That still needs a number. It still needs a cutoff date and a deadline, and we can come up with plans and arrangements that work according to that. Now, I know for some of you that when you're starting early on, survival is the key component. Well, yeah, we can deal with that, but beyond mere survival comes prosperity. I was talking to an agent in Sydney yesterday that they're a husband and wife team, and she has a small rental portfolio. He's coming out from a high-paying corporate job, and with the conversations that I had with him, I can tell you almost certainly that they're going to succeed because he certainly has the business acumen, and we're figuring out where his role augured in and how we could not have to take a dip in the salary, the combined salaries that they're earning right now, him, of course, being in the corporate world, and have minimal fuss. So that's where I'm aiming his prescription, if you like. And from a reverse perspective, if it were a bigger business or one that had been around for a number of years and had the resource to quickly turn it around, well, they would receive a different prescription. So we're there to bounce your challenges off. And I think that from a support point of view, I can, again, I talk to many leaders and they say, what's the key component to those that do well? Well, I can tell you that it's basically those that are having the regular conversations with me that lead me to believe that they're the ones that are progressing. Daniel Chancellor Richardson, brought him up a couple of times, spoke to him last night. Stephen Atchler, who has had extraordinary success and actually is featured in something else we're going to share with you here, our developments with Ninja Pinos, which is another company that allows you to outsource stuff. Again, talked to him 4 times in the last week. Then I get on to Coronis, which is the powerhouse, still speak to both Andrew, Craig, and several of their village leaders on a regular basis that are maintaining or operating 3 or 4 offices. I speak to these people all the time. So it's about, bouncing back and forth and speaking to us with great regularity. The first thing we start with at Steam is we talk about what it means to be a real estate sales manager, and we redefine that role into what we call a sales team leader. Now, we say your responsibility is to list and sell, but not necessarily from your perspective. It's not about your capacity to list and sell real estate. Most of you that are in that sales team leader position have been successful salespeople. Now, if you're a small operation, of course, you'll be hands-on, but we look at the projection over a sustained period of time, enabling you to withdraw from being the main income producer unless, of course, you want to be there, and how you then empower your sales people to start to produce those numbers. So we look at the attributes that you'll need as a sales manager in order to actually become the leader or the best leader that you can be. Now, all of us have strengths and weaknesses in this area. So we examine those one by one so that you can become conscious of the areas that you need to improve. We talk about your success. When do you know you have success under control? You know, I found it fascinating with some of the conversations that I had with oops a daisy, what happened there? With some of the conversations that I had, you know, with some of the successful leaders, notably with Sebastian Viteri, who's down here in Sydney. We were talking about his anxiety to achieve even more than he had. And I said, well, look, you really need to take a little bit of a look back at the road behind. You've only been in the business for 18 months, and let's look at the accomplishments that you've made with the support of what we've put in front of you. And it was a bit of an eye-opener for him. And I guess it's just that, you know, for some of us, we fail to look at where we're at. Success, as we say, is not necessarily a destination in as much as it is creating the right journey for you. Then we look at planned listings and revenue growth. Now, I say this over and over and over again. Quantifiable leveraging of productivity is only done with a clearly articulated understanding of exactly where you're looking to drive it. Exactly what sort of percentages you are commanding in terms of the market. One of the things that we talk about at Steam is we explain that in every given service area, there are 3 dominant agents, which between them are pretty much sharing anywhere from 60 to as high as 90% of the market. These 3 agents we refer to as players. Now, I know for some of you, you might have an isolated parochial market, and that might not quite be the case, but there usually be a couple of dominant players. The rest of the agents aspiring to become players are what we refer to, a little bit flippantly, as the also-rans. Now, if you're not a player, that would be our first aim, to get you to a point where you become a player. Secondly, if you are a player, then we drive your market share relatively quickly to around 30%. If you've already got a 30% market share and still struggling to create a satisfactory profit load, that will probably relate back to structure. So I do say this now, Steam is not about structure. That is what Cream is about, working on the business. That said, we do have certain aspects that we put into place. Your situation, where are you? So we need to get a sound understanding of where you're up to, where you fit in the marketplace. Then your destinations, where do you need to go? So where do you want us to help you drive your productivity, drive your market share, drive your profitability, and your plan of how we're going to get there. That is what the second session is about. We then move to the catch cry of Steam: get more listings. I can honestly tell you, in nearly 27 years, in fact, I've said it for the 28th year, of working in real estate agencies as fundamentally as a salesperson, then owning and operating real estate businesses, this is the key to mass prosperity. In much the same way as when I'm talking to salespeople about making that leap and I talk about double-figure listings, I can tell you now, for the company to take control of an abundance of incoming active property sellers, getting those prospects in and driving up the listings, this is the key to permanent prosperity. And there is no bad news where this is concerned, because what it of course leads to is other salespeople, good ones, wanting to come and work alongside you. It leads to longevity. More equals more, as we keep saying. And at the end of the day, the drive to get more listings is key to succeeding. So the first thing we look at is, how do we basically increase presence? How do we get your presence to the point where you are an automatic consideration as a player in the area in which you're operating, so that you readily have the opportunity, the number of prospects to drive your market share to around a third. Now, that can fluctuate marginally. If you jump up to 35% and sometimes back just under the 30% threshold, that's acceptable, so long as we keep it there for a sustained period. Once we're that under control, if you need to expand or increase the size of the capacity of your business, we then look about, of course, breaking into new markets. How you get that foothold in rapid fire fashion and capture a 30% market share within a 3-month period conservatively. And how to attract even more sellers. So not so much that where we change the game of prospecting, where it's not a business of finding sellers in as much as getting them to find you. And by and large, this is achieved with marketing, with creating perceptions, with getting property sellers coming to you in droves. I should check the questions. Okay, no, we're all good. All right, now we move to consistent, systematic productivity. How do you ensure on a daily basis that results are flowing? This session, to my mind, is one of the most eye-opening sessions for the majority of sales team leaders. Many of us have almost naturally, as salespeople, been accountable for our productivity because we just have that natural disposition of wanting more. There's a highly competitive bug internally that sits inside us, and that's what drives us forward. But once you're actually confronted with the collective, with the team, and keeping their productivity consistent on a daily, monthly, annual, and quarterly basis, fundamentally, how do you actually do that? Well, we say, how do you avoid those bad months? How do you ensure that you don't have those awful lulls that leave a pit in your stomach from a financial disposition where you've actually got too much month at the end of the money, as I say, so suddenly you're earning less than you need to or losing money, which is the worst situation of all. How do we avoid that? How do we make sure that we've got a nice, smooth flow with minimal fluctuations and we're always in profitability? How do you control your stock quality? How do you make sure that not that just that listings are coming in, but an acceptable percentage of those are clearing out inside of an acceptable time frame? Well, we've got fantastic systems that are driving this forward on a regular basis. Again, and I have to bring it up because I see him doing this most often, on the private group, the Urban Gorillas, which is Chancellor Richardson's team, like clockwork, at around the 25th of each month, they are putting together or implementing protocols that we teach in Steam to control the quality of stock and ensure that those listings that are stuck around for a couple of weeks are being driven out in the following month. So much so we can show you how you can premeditate the sales of your team on a regular basis. And then, of course, how to systemize that sales productivity. Just get it down to a systematic flow where the protocols themselves are managing the productivity and its consistency on a monthly basis. Please believe me, this is a reality. It's not a maybe. Those of you that are single operator operations, how to actually get all of your support team around you to synergize together so that you achieve the very same outcomes, but all the while creating a platform of leverage where you can start to introduce more people into that platform and build the business in a rapid fire fashion. Now, we're not talking weeks, surely we're talking months, but certainly we're not talking years. We now know how to get your business with a minimum amount of financial fuss into a doubling and trebling of productivity, which translates to a quadrupling, in some cases 6 or 7 times the profits that you might be enjoying right now. And here's the key: without you being in the front line. Meetings. Have you ever heard it said, that a sales meeting is boring. Perhaps you as a salesperson went to meetings that you found a little mundane. Well, I always cheekily like to say one of the first things I introduce you to is that the clue to a successful meeting is basically in the title. And you need to actually focus on how those meetings work. So what to expect from a sales meeting in particular. The purpose of a sales meeting is in this title itself, to drive sales up. Yet so many sales meetings that I hear of, some that I've attended, companies that are struggling with their productivity and efficiency, I find that those meetings have been basically turned into monitoring meetings where the leader gets in there and finds out what's going on. Well, the opposite is true, and we'll teach you this in STEAM, where you walk into the meeting knowing the agenda that you want followed, having a clear-cut understanding of where you're driving that meeting toward, and coming away from that meeting being able to literally look at it in terms of the turnover it's about to create. So you look at it and say that I know that over the next 7 days, as the barest of minimums, there'll be another 35, 40,000, or there'll be $250,000 come into the business as a direct result of the meeting that we've just had. And then what to do to ensure success of a meeting, how you actually ensure that that meeting was not only successful in the agenda that it's set for the following week, but how to ensure that that agenda is fulfilled and you get those predetermined outcomes that you set inside those meetings. Now, they're also broken up into quarterly meetings, which, ostensibly are planning meetings, or goal setting meetings, I should say, monthly meetings, which are planning meetings for each month ahead. We show you how to, in a routine fashion, control that within the sales team itself, irrespective of the magnitude or the size of that sales team. Then we move to the important facet. If you're in the front line as a leader of salespeople, then it is fundamentally your responsibility to monitor, mentor, and manage the performance of the collective as a whole, but then on a micro basis, each of the individuals functioning within that unit. Now, if you're listening to this as a leader who has a sales manager in place, then I hope that you're sharing this with them, and that you would indeed be bringing your sales manager along to STEAM, because it's geared fundamentally at that. But then, of course, as a leader or principal of an agency who has a sales manager, it's important that you understand how this functionality operates so that you can keep an eagle eye, if you like, over the fact that this is working well. They say in business, there's a lot of balls that you have to juggle almost on a daily basis. And the only ball you cannot afford to drop is, of course, the profit ball. Well, in sales team management, I say that the only ball you can't afford to drop in terms of productivity is the listings ball. So if you're keeping a very sound eye on the fact that plenty of daily listing appointments are being made and fulfilled, and there's a steadfast flow of incoming exclusive listings, whether they be by way of auction or otherwise, into the business, then you are managing the productivity extraordinarily well. We show you how to do this. We show you with a whole range of idiosyncrasies how to drive that additional productivity when the team get a little bit lackluster or perhaps a little lazy, how to do it and make them feel like you're not pushing them for necessarily your results, but indeed pushing them for the results of the collective, including that particular salesperson's aspirations. So in doing so, we say, what do you have to keep the ever vigilant eye upon? We show you precisely what we would call, or you might refer to as key performance indicators, where you need to keep a close watch on certain tasks, and certain protocols that they're being adhered to. in any adverse situation, what to proactively deliver in response to something that might be going a little bit off kilter, how to bring it back into line rapidly. And I'm not talking a response time of days, I'm talking a response time in many cases of less than an hour. You take those certain measures, put them into place, knowing what to look for, how you can turn things around almost overnight. And then practically what to do habitually day by day. So much the same way at the List and Sell tool, when we talk to salespeople about how they should behave routinely on a day-to-day basis, we go ahead and show you how you should behave as a leader from the moment that you wake in the morning, that you turn up to the office, how to actually get the engine room firing right on time, early in the morning, how to ensure that it's producing results well before midday, and to ensure that the next day is set up and this just continually and perpetually just turns over the productivity numbers so that the business is highly productive. Remembering, of course, that STEAM is not about the dollars per se, it's about the productivity. We deal with the management of dollars in cream. All right, does anyone have a question thus far? If you do, throw a hand in the air. I'm more than happy to answer it as before we move a little further. All right, session on hyper productivity tools. This is an interesting one because what we talk about in this particular session is how you turn that seeming adversity around in a couple of days. If there's a need for a mass influx of listings, how you can achieve that. If you've got a glut of listings, so for prospects we say, how to create a blitz, how to create a mass influx of listings in a heartbeat. Now, we've had some extraordinary success with this over the years. I think in my own office, if I go way back to the 90s, we set a record in 1 month in one office for a team of 3 salespeople, 3 listing salespeople, where we did 83 listings in a single month. The protocols that we followed have been modified, but on the whole, they still work to this very day. For listings themselves, how to actually create, I just talked about that, the number of listings, how to actually create a wipeout month where you at least once every couple of years create a catalyst to a flow of listings that lasts for an indefinite period. How to create that massive spark. So how to have a monstrous month where you have an incoming flow of listings that sets you up for a year or two of high-end productivity for the entire business. And then for sales, how to clear listings out, how to work on controlling the price expectations in response to a market that might turn at any given time, how you can react to that and have total control of it in a heartbeat. This is, as we say with STEAM, about controlling the productivity of the real estate business. And then we move to the sales team and how that sales team functions. Now, to me, I think this is the least understood component of productivity inside of a real estate business. I liken a sales team to that of any sporting team. You know, let's say it's a football team or a cricket team, or a collective of people and how they function together in concert to globally formulate the productivity of the office itself. So we show you how to evaluate each of your team members on their strengths and weaknesses. Importantly, we start to talk about, particularly as it relates to their listing capacity. I've found that in most real estate businesses, if you're taking notes, it's usually about 80% of the team. Sorry, let me rephrase that. It's usually 20% of the team, and in some cases 10, that are producing more than 80% of the results, that old Pareto principle. So the lion's share of the incoming business flow is being produced by a minority of salespeople. Now, this is not to say that those others can't improve, but what we've found in evaluation is that those that are producing the lion's share of the productivity are indeed endowed with certain characteristics that the others are not. A simple grading system that we introduce you to shows you at what point a lister can or cannot go out into the field to conduct a listing presentation. I think you'll be totally surprised when we show you who should be going on listings and who shouldn't, and who should only be going to a listing presentation supported by somebody who is a better lister. It is commercial suicide for you to have somebody out in the field that's producing, let's say, for argument's sake, a 50% list to sell ratio. That is at not list to sell, presentation to list ratio. We talked to you about when to rebuild and reinvent the team. I've found over the years that the moment that you feel that everything is going exceedingly well, that's when you ought to be panicked, because that's the moment that the team reinvents itself. You see, a team, at the moment that it's actually succeeding, it's pretty much accomplished. It's climbed the mountain. So it usually redefines itself the moment this has happened. So this then becomes, I guess, a science. It's not something that you openly articulate to the team. It's just something that you need to be consciously aware of. And your redefinition of the team is basically rebuilding it. And when to pass the captaincy baton on. You know, you should always be looking for the fact that if you are a principal that's also leading the team, when you ought to appoint a sales manager and move them on. And if you have a sales manager, or if you're when you might want to step up and then move along onto something else, and how we ensure that that captaincy baton is passed along and the team maintains its performance capacity. Then we're going to have probably the most important session of all, and that is the session we now call Implement All, which you will see featured inside of not just corporatemanager.com.au. So it'll be a function, a key function on the website that allows you to run installation, so all the protocols and bits and pieces that you'll need. But importantly, it's been inspired by Daniel the Chancellor Richardson and his rapid integration of all things steam and cream. So we're going to show you how to get the ideas from steam into fully functional, fully fledged catalysts to increased or leveraged productivity and leveraged efficiency. Now, to me, this is the most important fact. We've got webinars, which I've already alluded to earlier in this presentation, that will be occurring every month. We've the website, which you can just go on there and follow certain installation protocols. And then we've got some really quirky things that require you to pick up a pen and write into certain journals, and how we make those operate, because we've learned some of this, not so much from old habits that I and others that have worked with me might have personally had, but certainly now that we're learning with Daniel, because he has moved so very, very quickly over a short space of time, and it's just been extraordinary. The next thing that we're going to be sharing with you is how to install and maintain a discount-free fee structure within your organization. The challenge that I lay down to you is this: if you had the highest percentage fee in your area and you were able to levy that without ever having to discount, how would that then translate to your profitability and your success within the business itself? Now, this is not a pipe dream. We will show you how to do that. We're going to show you how to arrest discounts and take permanent control of your fee structure through the collective. I did this successfully in every real estate business I ever operated in. We were always the highest fee. We never reduced a fee at the point of listing, not ever, not even once. And this was the key to the prosperity that each of the offices enjoyed. Again, I've installed this in offices in Queensland at Stephen Atcheler's, in offices in New South Wales, Sebastian Viteri, definitely in Newcastle with Harper Property Agents. I've done the same down with Daniel's team. I mean, I can tell you now, one of the major leverage points to prosperity was us arresting the discounts, and now they have increased the fee down in Adelaide, where they have told me repeatedly it could not be done. And as I often say, man who says it can't be done should not interrupt man that's doing it. So we say this is a key component. And what you'll also see, these are the new things that have been introduced, is outsourcing. We want to talk to you or show you how you can outsource through a company called Ninja Pinos. We now have packaged up all of the protocols as they relate to reception work, and all of the prospecting protocols as they relate to sales inquiry. So we can automate that inside your business in rapid fire fashion. Now, when I tell you the profitability that you'll enjoy from that once you install, a few simple changes that we recommend to you at Steam inside your distribution of commissions when they're procured from sales, that this will lead to a profit watershed. Because there's only two ways that you can make money inside of a real estate business. The first is to increase the percentage or the amount that you're receiving for sales. The second is to lower the expenses of operating and running the business. Outsourcing creates that environment. Now, for those of you that are worried about the old sweatshop analogy and anything that might pertain to that, can I put your mind at rest by saying to you that there is nothing like that occurring inside Ninja Pinos. The company that we've set up, it is in the Philippines. These people are enjoying a lifestyle that supersedes any of their contemporaries. We are paying them well, and what we're representing back to you is a massive saving on what you might be spending in a whole range of areas at the moment. Now, again, if you're a single operator, you will find what we're going to have here for you absolutely outstanding. So we have pre-packaged many of the generic functions performed in the office, primarily in prospecting, and literally outsource these for a fraction of the cost. And this will continue. I hesitate to tell you how vast this is, but it's certainly something that we want to talk to you about inside of Steam from a productivity and, of course, efficiency disposition. So there we go, the equipment, a dedicated online resource and simmer, on simmer and ready to go. So systems, communication protocols, and of course you'll have Sales Trainer Active membership immediately, which also includes Sales Trainer Mentor. Seamshot is your hands-on training. I was in Yamba the other day. I'm sure, David, you're probably listening to this right now. And I said to David Lavelle, there is no doubt in my mind that us coming into your office is of fundamental importance in a hands-on manner to ensure that this will be installed. So we come into your office, you select the training, listings, or sales agenda, we present that to you, you tell us what you need to actually heighten or enhance the performance, and then the team, we get them to deliver the results in productivity. So great investment. Mentoring, Steam Room. So we say these are the first Monday of each month. So it is on the first Monday. That's all you need to do is block it out. It'll keep you lean and mean. It's about living the sales manager's role. So we just keep you up to date with installation, implementation, new ideas as they happen. You share your concerns and struggles, and we openly articulate this on those webinars. And it's certainly about the transfer of further knowledge and skill. What I constantly am saying to people that are involved in this program is leadership doesn't necessarily have definitive answers. It's about influence. So it's about us sharing how you push, kick, cajole in some cases, or how you steadfastly, just give it a little bit of persuasion, a little bit of rhetoric or nice talk to still enjoy the same result. So There are no definitive answers. It's about us sharing our experience of some 20 or 2 or 3 decades, I should say, in leadership and how that can be applied in your case. All right, these are incorrect with the steam room dates. Let's just say that the first one is analysis of sales team performance, your target market capacity. These titles are about to change. All right, Cream, next week. Those of you that are coming to Steam for the first time, I thoroughly recommend that you check out the webinar next Wednesday when we talk about working on the business. There's a simple link on Cream and Steam. Anyone who's listening to this now that wants to further participate with this, please just email me, mark@salestrainer.com.au, and I'll ensure that you come into the Facebook group, Cream and Steam, where you can access this type of information. So that's a platform. It's a secret group where we're basically sharing information on leadership and management. It doesn't cost anything to do that. More than happy to have you in. mark@salestrainer.com.au, and I'll be sure to add you in. There's the investment, Steam, $3,300. You would all know that we've got the first one in Auckland on February 9. We have another one in Perth on March 19 and 20, so February 9 and 10 in Auckland, and that is $3,300. If you take a look at Cream next week and only wanted to come to that, that is $55. But of course, if you want to attend both, then you get a $1,000 concession. You don't have to pay for Cream in full, I think at least until 3 or 4 weeks, but you know, that's how it works out, and you can actually have a look at it on the website. Book now, corporatemanager.com.au. There's more explanations in depth on this. Take a look at it, book in, and we look forward to